Yeah, just students, today we will discuss functions. We have started in the last class on these functions. We have discussed the taxonomy of functions based on various aspects. One is from the user's perspective, we can classify the functions into library and user defined, we said, right? Yes. So from user perspective, functions can be classified as library and user defined. Fine. All library functions which you make use of for your program execution, like printf, scanf, mathematical functions, and other. These are all basically will help you out, right? They are the third-party tools which will help you out in getting your tasks to be carried out in a smoother manner. Then user-defined functions, including main, right? All other user-defined which you probably write, the advantage of having the functions as we discussed is the reusability, rather, right? Functions can be classified into four types with respect to prototype concept, right? What is prototype? Basically, prototype is the model, rather, right? Or model. So this prototype of function basically consists of return type, function name, and arguments in number, order, and type, right? So these the functions can be classified into no return, no argument, return, no argument, no return with arguments, and no return without arguments, right? So we can classify functions with respect to prototype into these four kind, and these three of the out of four we have already seen in the previous classes. Now we will try to discuss the fourth one here in today's class. Yes, so we are here trying to discuss in today's session about function fourth type with respect to prototype when it is been classified. Okay. Return with arguments, right? So this type of functions will have arguments and as well return a value. Okay. It consists of arguments and returns a value. So if you look at the syntax of the same, you will have return type, then you will have followed by the function name, right? And then you will have followed by arguments enclosed in parentheses. Since this function is returning a value, it must have a return statement as well, right? What type of value you will return, you want to specify the same over here. This is how you can have the syntax for, return with arguments, right? Generalized syntax of the function, the other way around we can say. We'll try to demonstrate with the help of an example here. Write a function to return sum of two numbers. So here I am taking the return type as int because after we add two numbers which are integers, rather I get the result also integer itself, right? And then I said add followed by the arguments here. I'm having two arguments, int A, comma, int B, right? Okay, here what I wanted to do is I just wanted to perform the addition and then return the same. I can rather take a variable and then hold the result after the addition being made on this AB, and then I can return with that particular variable. But as well, I can perform certain expressions evaluation at the return statement as well. This is also allowed. If I have a return followed by a variable or a value, the value which it is rather having or held by the variable will be written. But if you have certain expression like this, return followed by expression, then this expression is going to be evaluated first, and the value that you obtain from the expression is going to be written rather, right? So for the sake of simplicity, I have reduced the number of instructions here. I just have a single statement over here, right? Now we'll try to implement this. In order to implement this particular add function, it has to be called in the main rather, right? So in the main function, here I'm calling this function. I can as well call at the printf execution as well, right? Sum equal to, you can say, it is basically giving you the sum rather, right? So here the function name is add, right? Add of, let us say, 10 comma 25 pass. I can rather pass like this. Okay. Now what happens here? We'll try to understand this program first. The execution, as we know, always starts from the main, and you have a single statement in the main. What is that you have? You can see this is the, let us say, this is the output here. This is the console, and where the output is coming, let us say here. Here you have a printf statement. What exactly printf statement does? It will simply print the string value that you have given in its argument. Here you have backslash in, so the cursor will be taken on the first line, and then sum equal to, you said, right? Sum equal to will be printed. And in place of this percentage, a value has to be printed. So what exactly it does? It will try to search for a value which has to be rather printed in place of this percentage after double quote comma. But when it goes to after double quote comma, there is a function call rather, right? So then function call will be made. But then you have argument for the player function. So then what happens? The values are going to be passed first, right? So the values that you need to pass for the arguments are going to be first passed rather, right? So this 10 is going to be passed for A. So you'll get in A value 10, and then 20 is going to be passed for B rather, right? So now what happens is 10 and 20 are passed to A and B. So now the control is transferred from here to there. This is your calling function, and this is your called function, right? So what happens? The mechanism behind the function is that whenever a function call is made, if there are arguments, then the values are going to be passed first to the argument, then the control will be passed from the calling to the call. Then once the processing get done at the call function, then values will be written, and then control will be written. So here what happens is first the values are going to pass, 10 and 20 are passed, and they are going to be now initialized to A, B of the local of the add function. Then control is transferred from main to add here. Then here you have written of A plus B. A plus B, then 10 plus 20, the value that you get out of this addition is going to be 30, which is going to be written from here. So that value will be written here. So the value which is written here will be now printed in place of this percentage D, okay? And then the control will be written from this particular add function back to the main, but you don't have any other statement after this printf, so we just come out of this particular main. So this is how the execution of the same will be done. So we can probably demonstrate it with the help of compiler, online compiler here. And so I'm going to online GDB compiler here. I'm starting a new project here. So here we want to perform with what? No return, sorry, return with argument. So it's a demo of return with arguments. Okay, now let us have one function here of which return type is integer, and then you have function name is add here. Then what is that you are having here? Since this function is carrying arguments, you need to specify the arguments. I'm having two arguments here. Both of them are integer. When you have multiple arguments, you need to separate it with a comma. Int b. Okay. Now here I am specifying the expression, that is addition of these two variables, a b, which are coming from the calling function the other way around, right? Generally, the arguments which you take for a function are the inputs for your function, and the value that you return from the function is generally the result that you obtain from the particular function, right? This is what the benchmark mechanism we will follow while we are taking the arguments and as well the return. Okay, so now let us try to demonstrate it. Sum equal to percentage t add, you pass some values here, 10 comma 20 I'm passing. Okay, now let us look at this particular example. This particular function is a return with arguments. Why? It is returning it's having a return type, right? And it's having arguments. And for these arguments, the values have to be passed while you're calling this particular function. It means the calling function is going to pass the values for this particular argument. And then the result you get out of it, this particular function is going to be returned rather, right? So generally, the result that you get out of it is integer. So I have given the return type as integer. If you are trying to return, let us say, float value, then the return type must be float. Based on the type of value that you're going to return with the function, you are going to specify the return type of the function, right? Now, you can see here, I'm implementing this particular function. In order to implement this function, I need to call it in the main. So in the main, we have a printf statement wherein, we are trying to print the sum. So here what happens in the printf statement itself, we are having an add function call. So what happens, the function is when called, the 10 and 20 are going to pass to a, b, and then the addition out of it, what it gets out of the same will be written here, will be printed here, right, in place of this particular percentage d, right? We'll try to demonstrate it. You have to specify the language here. Here semicolon is missing, and again execute and see. Yeah, you got the result as sum equal to 30. All of you are able to see here? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you will get the result there, right, directly. So the mechanism behind, as I've already explained you, that is what is exactly happening behind the scene to get you this particular result. Now, what these values are said to be? These values are said to be actual values, okay? And these arguments are said to be formal arguments. The values which you pass during the function call are said to be the actual values. Values passed during the function call are said to be the actual values, right? And if you are passing certain variables here, okay, for which the values must have been read before, then that variables are said to be actual variables, okay? And these arguments are said to be formal argument, which I have discussed in the last class. Anyway, if you observe in this particular, way of implementing a function with return kind, where a possibility that you can see for number of values that you can return is only one. Yes or no? You can return only one value from this particular function. Yes or no? But if you want to return more than one value, how is it possible, right? Okay. So for that, actually, we will go with call by reference. Fine. So I'm just giving you an idea about call by reference until we encounter with pointers where we're going to see explicit way of call by reference. But before that, with arrays, I will demonstrate and give you an idea of call by reference, how exactly help you out in returning implicitly more than one values from one function to another function. So we can see the function return type and the arguments are helping you out to communicate among the functions, right? This is nothing but the message passing mechanism, or inter-process communication rather, right? I hope you understand, right? See what is happening. These two functions are separate, right? Add is a separate function, main is a separate function. But though they are able to communicate with each other, how is it happening? You can see here, main is passing certain values like 10 and 20 of its local to add. And then it is performing an operation on the local values of this main, and then providing the result for the same, and then returning to the main. And the value that is generated out of this particular function is actually local to it, but then it is going to be sent to main. So you can see there is a communication is happening between this main and add. How is it being possible with the help of this arguments and return type, right? So this return and argument basically help you out in order to implement this message passing mechanism, inter-process communication among the functions rather, right? So, but then as I said, the limitation for this particular type is only one value you can return. Yes or no? If I have to return more than one value, then it doesn't work rather, right? So explicit way of returning that probably we can see with the help of pointers, but then here again we see the implicit way of doing the same with the help of arrays, right? So I'm giving you an idea of call by reference, right? But before that, the call by value that we have already discussed, I'll give you the definition for the same here. So as we have seen that the function classification is done in two ways before, right? One, we have done it using, the way you access from the user's point of view, the other way around, right? From the user's point of view, we have classified the functions into library and user defined that we have already discussed. And then we said that functions can be further classified into four kinds with respect to prototype. Now, with respect to the calling of the function, okay, I'm going to classify again into two kinds, right here. One is called by value, I'm saying. Another one is called by reference. Okay. So we are classifying here functions into two kinds, call by value and call by reference. With respect to the message passing, the argument calling the other way around, I can say, right? With respect to arguments or message passing. See, these arguments are nothing but the messages, right? You are passing certain messages to this function. Yes or no? And this function is also sending some message with the help of this return kind. So what is call by? Call by value, the one which we have seen is nothing but the call by value itself, right? See, here this add function is being called by passing the values, yes or no? So this A, B, you're passing certain values. Even if you pass certain variables for which the values must have been read before, right? So then even in that case, the values only are going to pass. So it means that, the function, while you're calling the function, you're passing the value, then I say it is a call by value. So this is call by value I can say. Okay. So if I'm defining it, I'll be saying that calling the function by passing values to arguments. I hope all of you are ready. Is said to be called by value, which you have already seen, right? So next one is, yeah, we can get only 20 slides here. We'll take another